your centuries-long pillage and plunder of Africa will come to an end, and you'll be so bankrupt that you'll sell the Sistine Chapel on eBay. Imagine the delusional state of these people. That's why I said it's pathetic. It's truly pathetic. The absolutely bizarre alternative reality bubble that you've constructed for yourselves. You lied about yourselves. You lied about who you are so much that I don't think you even know anymore.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel once again. My name is Tim Tesi. Kindly for watching me for the first time, please remember to subscribe, like, and also comment. So guys, in today's video I want us to watch and listen this video message from Arab man. He is called Shahid. He has really come out and revealed how these Western countries are really exploiting the resources of the black people, and yet they are claiming that our leaders, they are the one that is selling these resources to them. So guys, before I dive in, let's all watch this video, and at the end then I come back with more comment. Give this video a thumbs up.
Where is the African equivalent of the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel? Where is the Australian Aboriginal equivalent of the works of J.S. Bach? I rest my case. We have been blessed in Europe to have had good climate, good conditions. The way we organized our politics meant we had to have good brains, we had good ideas. And we have spread those to the rest of the world. And now the rest of the world is coming back slowly with terrible oppressors. But in actual fact, the average man or woman on the street in Africa doesn't think like that. It's the leaders, the people who are themselves stealing the wealth of their own countries, are using Western guilt against us.
I mean, the choice is yours about how you want to tear this apart. It's absolutely grotesque, obviously. That's kind of pathetic, frankly. I mean, first of all, to be fair, this does appear to be very clipped and edited, so I'm not sure what this man said in the full interview. But if this clip is representative of what he said and what he believes, and if it accurately sums up his position, okay, this man is an anachronism. It's like you opened up a time capsule from 1870 or something. But I mean, this is the usual thing they do, taking collective credit for individual achievement, exaggerating the brilliance of that achievement, while completely ignoring the collective criminality of the society in which that individual achievement occurred. This is what they always do. Also, of course, they're taking advantage of the fact, he's taking advantage of the fact that he knows that his society has successfully suppressed any information, any recognition, or any knowledge of the achievements of non-European civilizations. So when he asks, for example, when he asks for an African equivalent of the Sistine Chapel, he knows that his audience already thinks that no one else on earth has ever accomplished anything except for Europeans. Meanwhile, you could fit 16 Sistine Chapels in the Blue Mosque in Sultan Ahmed Masjid in Istanbul. Michelangelo took about 4 years, famously, took about 4 years to paint the ceiling, the frescoes of the Sistine Chapel. That's about 460 square meters. Meanwhile, there's over 20,000 hand-painted tiles on the ceiling of the Blue Mosque, covering 1,800 square meters, and they did it in less time. But again, this is also the same old Western argument of, we must be good, we must be wonderful, because we created nice things. So we don't actually have to compare and contrast our nice things with their nice things, because nice things do not a civilization make. Nice things do not indicate that you're good, that you're virtuous, that you're intelligent, that you're moral, or that you're civilized. Not to mention, it's also a matter of, what any given people value. So, for instance, he mentions Bach. Well, music and entertainment are not necessarily universally valued as worthwhile investments of time and study and energy and so forth. Not everyone takes it that serious. So you talk about Bach, for instance. Well, who did Bach compose for? He composed for the church and he composed for the aristocracy. So you can't actually disentangle his music from the very systems of oppression that you're denying existed. It's actually quite an unfortunate example for him to cite, to be honest. It's profoundly ironic. At the time of Bach, Europeans would only bathe maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So when you listen to Bach, just know that he probably composed that music while stewing in months of his own body odor. But you know what they did, right? You know what the Europeans did? Instead of being clean, instead of trying to clean themselves, they just used perfume to hide the stench. You know, Muslims were washing themselves 5 times a day or more, and with a minimum of bathing once a week in the desert, mind you. Since the 7th century, full shower no less than once per week in the desert. Meanwhile, Europeans, you know, even with 500,000 lakes and rivers and ponds and rain throughout the year, these genteel, sophisticated people would literally go months and months without cleaning their bodies and then just try to stifle the stink with perfume. And that's just what they do now. That's what they do now. That's what he's doing. Bach is a perfume. The Sistine Chapel is a perfume that they spray over the stench of their civilizational filth. You think that the music of Johann Sebastian Bach is supposed to be evidence of the greatness of Western civilization? We're supposed to just, when you talk about Bach or Beethoven or whoever, we're supposed to adopt an uncritical romanticism about that period of time and completely ignore the deeply oppressive context in which that music was created? No. You can't pretend that the brilliance of his compositions, which was brilliant, you can't pretend that that reflects the society that he was in. Bach composed within the framework of the Lutheran Church, which was an institution that was completely intertwined with systems of control and exploitation in Europe. The very church that commissioned his works was also instrumental in enforcing religious dogma, supporting class oppression, legitimizing the persecution of entire groups of people, particularly the Jews in Europe. You know, the church demanded unquestioning obedience, not to God, but obedience to the social hierarchies that ruled over every aspect of life in Europe. The church upheld the system in which the peasants labored under crushing financial obligations, where if they failed to tithe to the church, it could lead to public shaming or punishment. The church served as a moral enforcer for a feudalistic system that perpetuated poverty and inequality. Bach just made it sound pretty. The same way that this man is using Bach to try to make it sound pretty, just like a perfume on an unwashed, sweaty, stinking feudal lord. The more I think about it, really, the more it seems Bach is actually a perfect example for these people. You know, in Bach's Germany, the Germany of Bach, Jews were vilified and marginalized, and their rights were restricted. Their communities were segregated, and their humanity itself was constantly questioned. This bigotry in Europe was embedded in the doctrines and the sermons of the Lutheran Church, Bach's church. Martin Luther himself, whose ideas, as we know, shaped the very institution that Bach served, wrote anti-Jewish tracts that were invoked to justify centuries upon centuries of persecution. Bach was paid by the tithes that were extracted from serfs by the church. His music was just part of the opulence and the decadence of the church that was enjoyed by the elites of the church and by the aristocrats, enjoyed at the expense of the common people. That's your society. This is the truth about Western so-called civilization. All of its cultural achievements, you know, as extraordinary as they make them sound, all of their cultural achievements are always intertwined with their systems of oppression. Anything that they can point to in terms of their material achievements, they're always made possible by means of mass misery and suffering. I mean, he talks about Africa and the Aboriginal people of Australia. Do you really want to talk about what Europe was doing in Africa when Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel, or when Bach was entertaining the aristocracy of Germany? You really want to talk about what they were doing? Rape, pillage, mass murder, torture, and slavery. That's what you were doing. That's what you were doing with all of your good brains and all of your good ideas. Stealing everyone's resources to take them back to your allegedly blessed good climate of Europe. I mean, whoever described Europe as having a good climate and good conditions? Good Lord, does he think everyone is stupid? I mean, in the Middle Ages, only about 10% of Europe's land was even arable. And by the 1600s, they'd only increased it by about 10 to 20% that they could farm. It's cold and wet half of the year. You have scant natural resources compared to the all of the countries that you invaded, all of the countries that you stole from, which is why you did that in the first place, because you don't have anything. And you treated each other in Europe so bad that whoever could run away to America did so. I mean, when the Americans back in the day, the original, founding fathers, so-called, when they talked about freedom and independence, who were they talking about? Freedom from who? Freedom from who? Independence from who? They were escaping all of those good brains and all those good ideas, you with your well-organized politics and so on, because it was abject tyranny and oppression. You drove your own people to flee from you. That's why America exists. Not even Bach or Beethoven made them change their minds. They wanted to get as far away from you as they could. And how are you going to talk about what Africa doesn't have when you either destroyed it or you stole it, anything that they did have? And you made yourselves wealthy and comfortable in Europe by doing that. The kingdom of Benin, you destroyed the great city walls of Benin, the royal palace, you looted and you pillaged. And the same in Mali, the same in Zimbabwe, on and on. You destroy everyone else's stuff and then brag about being the only one who has stuff. I mean, I don't know anything about the Aboriginals of Australia, to be honest. But I know that you treated them like animals. That much I know. And you think that because you had Bach and Michelangelo, you were entitled to do that? Is that what you're saying? Is that your thinking? You think that any artistic or scientific or technological accomplishment that the West does that gives you some kind of a line of credit in savagery and inhumanity? As long as you make a pretty picture, you can treat people however you want? And whenever they say things like, we spread our ideas or we spread our values around the world, all I see in my mind is a cloud of locusts. Yes, you spread. You spread like a pestilence. Honestly, it really does amaze me that people like this guy even exist today in 2024. That there's still people who think like this and speak like this in public. It's astonishing. There's too much to say about it, really. I mean, talking about African leaders stealing from their own people, right? Using Western guilt, he says, against Europe. France takes $500 billion every year from Africa directly into their treasury. Western predatory multinationals pursue extractive industries in Africa, taking at least $50 billion every year. Debt payments to Western lenders are around $20 billion every year. Everybody knows who's stealing from who. You want to ask about the African equivalent of Michelangelo? Well, where's the African equivalent of King Leopold? Where's the African equivalent of Hitler? Because he was your son too. Where's the African equivalent of the British East India Company? Where are the African colonizers? Where's the African equivalent of Harry Truman, who wiped out 250,000 people in a matter of seconds? Where's the African equivalent of that maniac Winston Churchill, or the genocidal fanatic Teddy Roosevelt, or George W. Bush, or Joe Biden? I mean, the continuity of your crimes is stunning. You're absolutely consistent from your history until today, from 500 years ago to 0500 this morning. You're just the same. But alhamdulillah, the world is changing around you. The world is changing. You don't change, but the world is changing. Yeah, okay, maybe there is corruption in some African leadership. Sure. But you know why? We all know what will happen. We all know what you would do to them if they weren't corrupt. We know what you did to Lumumba. We know what you did to Sankara. We know what you'd do right now, if you could, to Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso. And we pray for his safety from you. We all know it isn't safe for any African leader, for any leader in the global south, or for any leader in the Muslim world to be a man of integrity. We know it's not safe. The last thing that you want is for any leader to come to power in Africa who actually cares about his people. Look at how you tell on yourselves. You tell on your own selves, You're calling your own collaborators corrupt. Your own collaborators in Africa, you call them corrupt because you know that anyone who lets you do what you do in Africa can't be anything but corrupt. Those are your friends. Because you know that the moment any genuine leaders emerge, like in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Senegal, and so on, when leaders like this emerge across the continent, leaders who serve their own people instead of serve you, leaders who practice what you call radical resource nationalism, meaning they have the audacity to think that their country's natural resources actually belong to them and don't belong to you. Well, you know that when those leaders, those types of leaders emerge across the continent, then the jig is up. You know, when that happens, your centuries long pillage and plunder of Africa will come to an end, and you'll be so bankrupt that you'll sell the Sistine Chapel on eBay. Imagine the delusional state of these people. That's why I said it's pathetic. It's truly pathetic. The absolutely bizarre alternative reality bubble that you've constructed for yourselves. You lied about yourselves. You lied about who you are so much that I don't think you even know anymore. And then you'll kill anyone who can expose you. You know, if your so called civilization were a person, the West would be the talented Mr. Ripley, just a psychopathic fraud, an imposter who wants what everyone else has and who takes it by murder, and then he pretends that he's independently wealthy. Don't you grasp the fact that you cannot gaslight the world anymore? I mean, you already couldn't, to be honest. You already couldn't. The jig was already up, the game was already over. But now with Gaza, everyone can see who you really are. That rabid attack dog of yours, Israel, that you told everyone was a poodle. People in the Muslim world, people in the global south, they don't see any of you, any of the Western leaders. Not Macron, not Biden, not Schultz, not Starmer, not Trudeau. All we see is Netanyahu. We only just see Netanyahu's face when we look at any of you with blood dripping from his mouth. You're all Netanyahu, and Netanyahu is all of you. And it's the same with this guy in the video. I don't actually even know who this person is, but I don't have to know who he is. He's just a colonizer, imperialist, terrorist, apologist. And frankly, I love the fact that these types of people are now reduced to just talking with each other, you know? The Douglas Murrays, the Jordan Petersons, the John Andersons, you know, the Sam Harrises and so forth. All these neo-colonialist, Western supremacists. All they can do now is just skulk onto each other's podcasts, huddle with each other around their microphones, talking about how wonderful the West really is and how terribly everyone has misunderstood them. Everyone is just, the rest of the world is just so ungrateful, you know, for all the great and glorious gifts that Europe bestowed so kindly on all of the lands that they ravaged and subjugated. 20 million people killed in the Belgian Congo, 2 million in Algeria by the French, not to mention 13 million enslaved, a quarter of whom died en route, plus thousands lynched once they got there. No, all your art, all your music, all your so-called cultural achievements, your Sistine Chapel, your frescoes, your Bach, your Mozart, your Beethoven, what have you. This is all nothing but a lovely silk tapestry that you throw over a mass grave where you want to have a picnic. Like I said, it's nothing but a perfume that you spray to cover the stench of your history. But Africa is cleaning house. Asia is cleaning house. The Muslim world is cleaning house. The whole global south is tired of your unhygienic ways. Turns out that whitewashing doesn't actually make you clean.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Do you really agree with Shahid Bolsen? If you agree with Shahid Bolsen, give this video a thumbs up. So, guys, Western country, they have been saying that our leaders, they are the one who are selling our resources to them, and we all know these colonizers, they are the one who are really exploiting our resources. And that's why I really like this Shahid Bolsen. Shahid Bolsen, he has been coming out and really defending for the black people. He has been revealing something hidden secret that is most of the leaders and most of the people, they don't know that secret. And that's why this he also came out and tell us how we African are rich in resources. And he also sometimes back, he also came out and tell us that we the black people were rich more than the more than the white country, and those white country, they cannot survive without Africa. And then he said that the time the black people will really united and use their own resources, These Western countries, they will fade. Those Western countries will not exist. And then he also came out and said for us that in case we the black people to go far, we must unite it. And he ended and tells us that for these white people, the main reason that they really fear Africa is they fear about the unity. When the unity that will sometimes come to Africa, or the black country, or the Caribbean, or the Jamaicans, or the whatever you are, if you are a black, if you are black American, come together and really united, it will be the end of the white colony. It will be the end of the Western country to control more in this black country. And this can really happen if we must unite it. But if we remain divided, this Western country will still continue exploiting us, will continue really hurting us. And that's how I really love how Shahid Paulsen is opening more the eyes of so many people, because most of the people, they have been so silent, they don't know where to go. Even if you can ask, do you know that Africa are the richest country? Do you know that Jamaica is more the richest country than United States? And it's true, we have our own resources, but our own resources has been taken over by these colonizers. So Shahid Bolson was answering some questions from these Western countries, because they are really telling us that our leaders, they are the one who are selling our resources to them. So this is, I want to put this question to you. Do you really agree that our leaders are the one that is selling our resources to the Western country? Do you really agree? Then Shahid Olsen also said that, answering that West countries are saying that no, you are the one who are really selling our resources. You are the one who are taking our resources out of them. Because let's reason together, and this is my partake. When these people during the colonization, they normally use what we call it divide and rule. That's why you will find some section we have the French, like here in Western Africa, you have the French, you have the Britain, we have the Germany, and we have the Belgium. Then in those all countries, you will find the military troops of the Western countries. You will find the ambassadors. That is how you will find that these people, they are lying. I can say that these people are lying. Number one, I can remind when Ibrahim Traore when Ibrahim Traore came in power, he chased away these French troops, he cleaned all the colonizers from the France, from the Burkina Faso. And then you find that those colonizers, they wanted to arrest Ibrahim Traore, even they wanted to assassinate Ibrahim Traore. Why is it that these Western countries wanted to assassinate Ibrahim Traore, and yet they are claiming that our leaders, they are the one who are selling our resources to them? It's a lie. And then when Ibrahim Traore started doing a business with the Butini, France and United States were so furious. They sent Michael Lincoln to Burkina Faso so that they can really, I can remember a lot of spies were really captured in Burkina Faso. So I can say that this Western country, they are really lying. And then another thing, why are these people, they normally give us this IMF Bank and World Bank? This organization was created long time ago for just a formality, for giving us that helping us. But when you deepen in, these organization are the one who are using to steal our resources from our countries. You will find that when our resources is taken from our countries, they really end to those monetary banks, and those monetary banks then they give us a loan with an hefty interest. So Shahid Bolson is right, these people are lying. Africa, Caribbean, they have our own resources, but they normally came up with a lot of threats because they see that they are the superpower. So they came up with a lot of threats. Number one, they eliminated our noble leaders like Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Mohamed Gaddafi. For leaders that is really defending the black people, they normally get eliminated. Why? And they are saying that we, the black people, are the one who are giving them the resources. I really disagree with those sentiment of those Western countries. So guys, let's interact more in comment section. Do you really agree that Western, our leaders, they are the one who are selling the resources to the Western country, or this Western country they uses our leaders as a puppet and they use our force to steal our resources? Thank you so much for watching me. I'm your host, Team Tasty Reaction. Remember, please to subscribe to this channel, like and also comment. Bye for now. See you in the next